Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Men and Sex. I'm your host, Mr. Wood. This podcast is all about normalizing taboo conversations. Here, we talk about sexuality, we talk about masturbation, we talk about the things that there's hardly any space for us to talk about as men. And today, we've got one of the juiciest subjects, one that scares a lot of men away, one that I have never even heard within men's personal development in my life. And I've got a guest on the show that has, for me, been one of the most passionate people to talk about this subject. There's a potency, just a delivery that I've never felt anywhere else. The subject that we're diving into is circumcision, and I've got Jenna McLelland on the show, a spiritual healer and circumcision researcher. And on Jenna's bio, I love this. I help men heal from trauma, including the trauma of circumcision. Jenna, welcome to the show.
Mr. Wood, thank you so much for having me today. It's a pleasure to be here and to unravel the world's most controversial topic. So, being here to speak about the things that we've been hiding, it's an honor. So, thank you.
And listeners, I'll just say, pay attention to yourself in this episode. It might make you squirm a little bit. You might be like, oh, wait, I got that to-do list thing to do. Oh, there's this other thing I should listen to. There might be parts of you that want to squirm away from listening to this conversation. And I highly encourage you to buckle up and strap in and stay tuned and let it wash over you for whatever way that will land. Anything you want to say to that, Jenna?
Yeah, just breathe with the content. And we all know there is a great awakening happening. We have a lot of things coming out right now, Epstein files, all the way to what we're finding out about pedophilia, to weather modification, to whether you think the earth is flat or not. It's everything is basically being dissolved. And this is one of the very last conversations. And if you sat in 2020 and you were able to really deeply connect to big pharma and to the atrocities that are happening within our government, then it is time to sit and discuss one of the last biggest pieces of the puzzle so that we can all embark and move forward into the new world and do that together.
And I want to say this one more time for the listeners is, my dad introduced me to men's work when I was 13 years old. It's been almost 30 years. And I was telling Jenna earlier, I've never heard the word circumcision said in 30 years of connection to men's personal development. In one of the leading men's organizations, I also facilitate with Sacred Sons. Never heard circumcision there either. So I'm just pointing at that to say how unconscious and untalked about this subject is. And we'll obviously go in this episode of like how insane it is that it's still going on and many different layers, but it is very hidden. And some of you have maybe never even gone into this conversation before. Um, you know, I want to pass it off to you, Jenna, just to start with why you're here, why you're passionate about this. Why is this such a part of your life's purpose?
Yeah, so it is incredibly intertwined to my soul's calling here on earth. Prior to awakening to circumcision, I actually had an awakening during 2020 when I was unloading everything that we were all awakening from. And I was a yoga teacher at the time, had my own studio and practice, and was evolving in wanting to know how to heal chronic asthma that I had. And I ended up going into a deep healing mode of looking into the parts of myself that I had personally always kept hitting, like my femininity. Why is it that I was more comfortable with men touching me, being inside me, looking at me more than I was?
Mm,
Why don't I want to have children? Why am I so ashamed and embarrassed by my bleed?
mm,
And these were things that I had run away from all my life. I was on birth control for 11 years and really had no deep embodiment of the true essence of the divine femininity. and
Mm,
how I could move her through my body and utilize that energy to maximize my life and manifest and attract the things that I was deeply desiring. So
mm,
when I opened that door, I end up actually having such a big wake up call that I started to create women's sexual intimacy products. I make homemade organic yoni oils and taught women alchemical practices,
mm,
how to harness the sexual energy, how to cultivate it throughout their body, and to how to create deep change and shift the woman that they see in the mirror each and every day.
mm.
And I was married at the time. I was living in North Carolina, and I thought that was it. I thought that I had found my purpose. I was moving on beyond yoga, and I was going to be this woman who helped women become unapologetic in their pussy.
Mhm.
And it was 2023, the night before my birthday. I woke from a dream where I was a witness to a newborn being circumcised in a medical setting. The dream was set in such perfect like a mirror to exactly how they do it, how they actually strap the baby down in the circumstrant. There were two doctors in the room. They had their garb on. And what ended up happening is as soon as they ripped the foreskin off of the baby turned his head after having have gone through the actual types of responses that babies do have in these surgical rooms,
Mm.
where he vomited all over himself and there was kind of blood all over him. And that was a little graphic, but he turned his head and we made eye contact and I zoomed in towards him and we had this telepathic energy exchange where he said, "Are you watching me?
Whoa.
Are you here? Do something."
Whoa.
And I woke up like moaning. I did not know how to handle that. Like I can even feel it through my spine in this moment. Yeah, it's insane. It's intense. And I was squirming and this tsunami of fear just came over me. And please, God, don't ever let me come back as a baby boy. Please, God, like, what do I have to do? What do I have to do for you to never let me come back
Wow.
as a boy?
Hmm.
And I think I probably was in this discomfort for about an hour until I fell back asleep again. Woke up in the morning, walked into the kitchen where my ex-husband was, and as soon as I locked eyes with him, I remembered the dream and then collapsed
Oh.
in his arms. So it took over a week for me to even talk, to formulate a sentence about the dream without becoming hysterical. And who do you even call? Hey, guess what? I had this horrible dream about circumcision. Like nobody is going to empathize or have any emotional validation to the atrocious, barbaric practice of male genital mutilation, which we euphemistically call circumcision. So I went into this space of really reflecting, well, like that was incredibly insane. That was something bigger than me that has come in. How do I even do this? How do I
Mm.
even start talking about this? Like there was this wake up. It was a phone call that I ended up picking up and I said like, am I going to deliver? Am I going to deliver others from this as well?
Mm.
So I ended up going on a deeper womb work and had to reclaim even more parts of my vagina, more parts of my sexuality, get comfortable touching myself more, understanding the full aspects of being a multi orgasmic woman, all the way from, the realms of orgasms for women. And it was through the deep cervical orgasms and the understanding that I was cultivating and the articulation that I was capable of having within my body. It was through that I was capable to now create a container, create the space within me to now hold unapologetically, often like with full authenticity. Hey, hi, my name is Jenna McClelland, and I've come out and here's circumcision. Like, all random. I knew I was going to lose people. I knew it was going to cause some form of ostracization from something. And And by the time I had this huge reclamation and was really feeling so much more of my erotic embodiment, I said, fuck it. So I ended up leaving my husband. I left a life that I had in North Carolina. I was taken care of for really well and came back to Austin, Texas, where I'm from,
Wow.
and I burned like the phoenix. I fell into a deep, dark night of the soul. I lost family members. I lost friends. I had absolutely nobody. So I was on the floor pretty much, only considering and thinking about the image of that baby. That baby
Mm,
has visited me many times.
mm,
And it was the only thing that was able to get me up in the morning.
mm.
So it's through that, and then finally getting my 2 feet back on the ground and running with circumcision, like trailblazing this motherfucker. And I entered the lives of men. I've gone super deeper into somatic sexology, and I've completely advanced all of my psychic abilities to be able to channel and deeply connect with men, to offer them keys so that they can become the master of their life. They can become effective leaders, because circumcision does have a deep impact on the mind, the heart, and the pineal gland.
Ooh. Well, first off, I just want to say thank you for modeling commitment to a mission and a purpose. I know that as a man, that's something I'm still developing, is the willingness to go all in on the thing that I believe in. And so I think that's just beautiful to share with us.
Yeah,
And
come on over.
hey, I'm ready. And for the listeners, congratulations if you're still with us for
Yeah, hell yeah.
diving into straight into the depths of a deep conversation. And it really is something that it's just time for us to look at and question. That's what's so interesting to me is we haven't questioned it as a society, as a collective. My parents, you know, generations upon generations that haven't questioned it. And it's like, okay, can we just look at this with a basic level of common sense and be like, does this make sense that this exists and we're doing it? And I love that you brought in the truth of the matter, which is that it should be called male genital mutilation, that we've given it this nice medical name, and that all the reasons why we're doing it have been disproven, that there's any reason to be doing it other than like a collective spell. Um,
Yeah, if you don't mind me piggybacking on that for a minute, because
please.
you use the word tradition. And tradition is actually what keeps the belly of the beast alive. These practices that become so autopilot, we don't question the narrative. We don't question the script that has essentially been given to us. So let's say, for example, the Super Bowl. Let's say, for example, vaccines. Let's say, for example, certain holidays. Those are all traditions. And the more that we feed into them, celebrate them, continue to do those things, we're keeping essentially that entity alive.
Hmm.
And so the whole point of this grasping of the psyche
Mm.
is to infiltrate it to the point that there is like no um, valve that's open for any form of question. For example, during COVID, what did we hear? Trust the science. Like,
Yeah.
what are the things that people are constantly regurgitating? And when you notice that people are regurgitating the same statement, the same thing, it's actually from the system that's actually being fed into the psyche of man. And which is a really fascinating layer to this, because circumcision is not only being held by medical and cultural dogmas and egregores, it's also the religious. And religion has a huge, almost is like a puppetry to a lot of the people, whether you believe it or not. So I just wanted to expand upon the fact that you brought up the word tradition and
Mm.
how it can take us out of our sovereignty, out
Mm.
of the ability to deeply connect into that true knowing of who we truly truly are, specifically through the lens of divine masculinity.
And it's fascinating because such a profound thing is simplified and made not a big deal.
Hmm.
I just recently talked to my dad. We're super close. We've got a great relationship. We've been in men's work together for a long time. But it was not until this last year that we actually had a conversation about my circumcision.
Wow.
And he was like, "Well, I just wanted you to fit in.
Yeah.
I looked
Hmm.
like that. I knew the people around you were going to look like that. So I didn't want you to get made fun of." And it was just like that simple of a logic
Yeah.
that can be the spell that goes over the brain that's just like, "Oh yeah, I need to do this." And it's almost under the guise of it's best for my son.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm doing this for him. So he might as well go through this torture that is in a medical setting so it's safe, so I can prevent him from having any form of mockery in the locker room because I remember and what I know from men is there is an epidemic of men actually not wanting boys. They are actually preferring girls because they themselves have had, they know the difficulty of the boy conditioning, the good boy conditioning, or the tough boy, rather, conditioning.
Mhm. Mm, Yeah, it was fascinating to just hear that in the simplicity of that choice. And it's one of those things that is fascinating for me to think about, which is like, I'll never know how that changed my life.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
I'll never know the difference of who I am now because of that decision that was just like such a, it seemed like a simple thing of like, yeah, I don't want my son to be made fun of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And there's no
but
part of the body that's simple. No part of the body that's simple.
which, is could be a whole podcast episode, which is like how
Yeah. Yeah.
fascinating it is that we've
Yeah.
decided we can just discard
A
different
piece of
parts of the
skin.
body.
Right. Or like hysterectomies. You don't need that uterus. That's annoying. Periods suck. Or just get it out or pull it out or whatever, even with our tonsils, even with our wisdom teeth. It's just discard it, go under the knife, be done with it. Don't worry about it.
So you had this awakening, you had this vision, you burn it down, you committed to it. What did you start to really connect with as you were learning, as you maybe even moved into working with men? What did you see foundationally at the beginning was so important for men in this conversation?
Mm, that's such a really great question. I like it because there was so much about men that I didn't know. There is so much about men that society doesn't allow anybody to know, right? They are the enemy, they are the patriarchy, they are the supremacists, they are the battery to the system. And women are the ones that actually are the one they're the ones we need to pity. They're the ones we need to empathize. They're the ones that, we need to put more love towards, and men can just be disregarded, right? So I notice this deep pain in men, this silencing of this quiet population that all of their lives had never, ever been considered when it comes to their circumcisions, the types of relationships that they were cultivating or that they were attracting into their lives were basically a reflection of their current state. So they were extremely unhappy, upset that women can't hold space for them, upset that women ghost them. Why are women so mean to me? Why can't they talk to me? Why don't they let me really open my heart? They keep laughing at me. And I have a difficult time talking with my family. I have a difficult time altogether, even when this feminist movement, how all these women can just completely hate on us. And we're just a byproduct of the system. We're just a byproduct. And all I want is just to be able to have been given the chance to fully experience my sexual capacity and to not have had that ripped from me due to deception and due to lies. So the very beginning was holding space for them to come into my space. I had a community every Sunday where I would invite men in and we would talk and I would give them. I was doing all this for free. I had no idea how I was really going to get started, and I just wanted to hear their stories. I just wanted to infiltrate their
Mm,
lives.
mm,
And the things that I heard, the people that came through, the men that are angry, the men that are upset, they don't know why, or they don't know how to handle the betrayal and the serious abandonment because they don't feel worthy of protection. They don't feel worthy of love. They don't feel like they are enough because
mm.
society told them at birth they were not enough. So what happens is when we have a baby that has been laid down on a circumstrand, how they lay the baby down. I don't know if you want to go into detail, but we can go into detail on that later. Do you want to?
I was gonna say I've never even heard that name before.
A circumstrand. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, so I don't want to lose this
Yeah,
thought.
yeah, no, no.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
just want
yeah.
to say that.
Let me
Keep
finish
going,
this
keep
thought and
going.
then
Yeah.
I'll give you the full scene. Okay. So you can everyone can have a visual. Men are very visual, right? And I want to be extremely practical. So um when let's say for example, you are out there doing the woodwork that you're doing that I see you doing on Instagram all the time, and you chopped a piece of your pinky off, right? Your body is going to start sending signals naturally. The body and the subconscious are interchangeable, including your inner child. So the body is going to start sending signals into the brain and into your psyche. Hey, I'm not whole. Something's off. Something's wrong. There's an equilibrium. It has to actually create a communication dialogue. And what happens when there is a circumcision is in the neural pathways of the baby, the removal creates this system where the body starts saying, I'm not whole, something's wrong, I'm not enough. And so over time, as the body is speaking more and more to the mind and to the brain of the man, it will actually start to create a neural network. And this neural network has a voice, an archetype. Think about all the thoughts that we're thinking all day long. Where are those coming from? Who is that? Who's the rejecter? Who's the being rejected? Who needs to be accepted? Who is the one who chooses whether or not you're being accepted or not? Those are trauma-based archetypes that are formed from trauma, that are formed and create these needs and they create these voices. So the body is signaling all of these messages like I'm not whole, something's wrong, and it's not enough. It's not what it was here to do. It's not here what it's fully meant to express and to embody. So that creates a neuro network in the brain. That's why a lot of men don't feel like they're good enough. They don't feel like they're good enough in bed. They avoid intimacy with partners. It's difficult for them to even go deeper into sexual connection because they can't penetrate a specific layer because the entity, that archetype voice will come in and hijack, sabotage that experience because all of a sudden he will reject himself. So it's this constant battle that's happening that's very dissociative. So
Mm,
when we're dissociative in the act of sex, there's no way that presence is going to be able to be there. There's no way for the woman to actually allow you to penetrate her. It's just there's a whole disconnect, and then we get in the mind and all that. So I just wanted to paint a picture of even how something as simple as cutting a piece of skin off, how the body will naturally, whether it's your fingernail, your finger, your toe, your nose, it's just how it works. And leaning into the full picture of what is really happening in a room that is completely separate from mom. So first off, the infant is very well tied to mother. Oh, you want to
before we
say
go
something?
there, I just wanted to tie into that and say
Yeah, go
that
ahead.
there's not just the circumcision in that aspect too, is like we're piling layers, especially today with, the other massive layer is the porn layer, which is
Mm,
also very dissociative. We're watching screens. It's not an experience we're actually in. Where like, I'm watching this screen and I'm stroking my body down here, but I'm not even in my body. I'm in this scene. And simultaneously, like there's, that sex is just one of those ways that for a moment a man can feel soothed and is feeling good enough. It's like, oh, someone approved of me to let me inside of them. Like, and it's just like these multi-stacking layers of where we get a little soothing of that for the brief moment that we're in it. But then when we're out of it, it's just like this, oh God, now I'm lost connection to feeling that at all. So there's just like a profound sandwich there that includes all these different things.
Yeah, I just had a thought. Pornography is part of the matrix and it's a battery. So men are literally plugging themselves into a system that is extracting their life force from them. So when they can do that and all of a sudden they unplug, they're gonna feel that emptiness because there's no other substance to actually fall back upon from the idea of the mental intercourse, from the emotional intercourse, from that interchangeable, deep connection that is cultivated from neurons speaking back and forth from one another when it comes to intimacy and connecting with another. So it's just like you're literally a battery. And when you're this battery, there's no agency, there's no sovereignty, there's no cultivation of the true masculinity and why or how he is here to heal, evolve, and serve and to protect
Yeah.
women.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Really, I'm really realizing as I go deeper and deeper down this rabbit hole is that all of this in the realm of sexuality and our genitals is a huge siphoning of our ability to be in our power and be a part of a network of powerful men that are like creating a completely alternate reality that's like we're feeling good and the things we're supporting are like flourishing and like all of that is siphoned off with all of these pain points and problems that, we're diving into here. Now, one thing is I want to say before we go into this scene, can you prepare the listeners a little bit? Maybe drop them in a little bit, give
Yeah.
them a little bit of
Yes.
grounding before we go into the
Yes.
scene.
Yeah, I'm pretty hardcore. I have been around the block a time or two when it comes to this. So I had to go through my own circumcision funeral where I saw the videos, I heard the screams, I listened to testimony, you name it. And that was a very intense time of my life of complete and utter shock, for one. The how is this possible? How are people allowing this? And yeah, it's really intense. So if you are feeling uncomfortable, I love Tool, the band, and so Tool actually became my alchemy. It became my space to move my body, and that hardcore and the bass and the guitar, like it helped me move the energy. So
Mm,
put on some music after this, breathe, drink some water, and just really be with the reality. Because when we can really sit with and see the truth of this, we can all cultivate and steward change and prevent our children from going through this torture. It is serious sexual torture. So, breath, grab some water, put some Tool on later, move your body, put your feet in the ground.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, are we ready?
We're ready. Ready as we'll ever be.
Ready as we'll ever be. Okay. So, the infant, all infants, are very deeply connected and intertwined with mom to the point that even after birth, their identity hasn't separated. They're still mom. So when they are going through a medicalized birth, depending on the type of birth trauma that happens, and that's a whole nother podcast, um, he is taken from mom. And immediately abandonment is going to start to come because he's never been separated. He has no idea who he is. He doesn't have an identity yet whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they put the babies in circumcision rooms and they strap them down to a circumstrand, which is a medical device that has the imprint of a baby's body in it, and Velcro that straps their arms and their legs down. I like to call it a crucifixion board.
Whoa.
So they will do it. They want to get these circumcisions out like quick, right? So they'll actually have these babies in an assembly line in the room.
What?
So while they're laying down, separated from mom, fully naked and clothed, exposed, they're listening to deep, torturous cries of other infants.
Whoa.
The baby, the boy, all men will always, their body will always hold the memory of the doctor's face, of the sound of the tools, the blood, the screams, the slicing sensations, and the pain. The pain is so extreme, it gets lodged into all of the vital organs of the baby. It is, they have multiple ways of going about it. So the anesthetic that they use, the injection, or they'll do a topical cream. One, the topical cream called the EMLA cream has scientifically in their notes in the insert sheet said that it is not supposed to be on the genitalia of any person, and especially under an infant under the age of 1. And it has actually been recorded that it has caused second-degree burns, so blisters on the foreskin. So it's incredibly irritating. So if they put this cream on the most sensitive part of the male body, which is comprised of up to 80 to 100,000 Meissner's corpuscles. Here's the deal, real quick. In the text and everything that you will see, they will say about 20,000, but
Yeah.
there have been doctors in the American Pediatrics Association or AAP. I have dyslexia, so I always forget the acronym.
Yeah.
They have actually admitted to other intactivists that they think that there are up to 80 to 100,000 nerve endings. That is 10 times the pleasure capacity of the female clitoris. So they are getting the cream if they do that, and then there's an injection. Well, if they were to give the infant a proper dose to numb him out, it would actually kill him. It's fatal. So they
Wow.
can't give the infant the right amount of anesthetic to numb him so that he wouldn't feel the pain on the most sensitive part of his body. They have different types of clamps. So what they'll do, you've seen like someone like skin a rabbit, how you have to penetrate the barrier between the fascia and the skin. So the foreskin is adhered to the glands of the penis. The glands is the head. So they have to pierce through, get a knife to slice between the layer of the foreskin and the glands, cut around, and then abruptly force the foreskin upward, and they drag it and draw it through a clamp, or there's other kinds of tools. Some tools actually should be illegal. They've caused a lot of botches, meaning penises have actually been cut off fully, and they take so much skin that the infant will be left with a buried penis, meaning that the ligaments inside of the shaft have loosened to the capacity that the penis will invert like in any belly button. So the infant will have two belly buttons to give you a picture of that.
Whoa.
So they will abruptly yank the skin through a clamp, if we're going to use a clamp example, and
Mm.
crush the skin to the point it will remove the foreskin. And then they put a bunch of Vaseline, which is petroleum, and put a baby in a diaper where he is going to pee and poop all over his wound, all for the sake of cleanliness.
Whoa.
The baby will go back to the mother feeling incredibly betrayed, violated, rage, deep abandonment, trust. How? How is there any capacity to trust her? And hijacking the relationship between the son and the mother um, is extremely sad, because that's his representation of who a woman is. That's his gauge on the feminine within him, and then the feminine reflection that he's going to have back at him in relationship. So that has been completely hijacked. So we have an infant who now goes home with a scar on his body, having had been castrated and removed of an essential piece to his sexuality, to his pleasure, into the full representation of his divine masculinity.
What would you say to a man that thought to himself, "Oh, I'm fine now. I don't even remember that. Like, I can't even remember that. It must not have been a big deal for me." What would you say to, because I'm sure a lot of men that are adults now have either dissociated from that or completely blocked it out, or the memory doesn't go back that far. And what are some things for us to think about as men that are experiencing that?
Well, then I would take them into the metaphysical. I would take them into, okay, so you don't remember that, right? The body remembers, but if he's open, I will explain. If he's not, I'm not going to. Let's just start off with that. Like,
Yeah.
we're wasting our time with people trying to convince and to chase and to make them see our worth and make them hear our point and be understood. I'm not doing that.
Hmm.
So when we stop getting off on trying to do that, we can be more grounded in our truth, be more grounded in our expression. So I'll wait and see if he's open. And
Yeah.
if I see an open portal to penetrate and to actually say, okay, well, tell me a little bit about your life. These are the consequences of what happens in the brain, in how it is a metaphysical castration of the mind. It
Yeah.
is a medical, I mean, not a medical, a metaphysical castration of the mind, because if we were to think from the metaphysical standpoint, the mind is a male genital organ. What does it do? It ejaculates ideas, thoughts. So it's the form of immaculate conception of being a man, being a woman, a human who's capable of drawing in from the ether, drawing in from spirit, drawing in from the divine to make into reality, to make into a business, to make into any effort, to make into a relationship. So when there is a castration of the mind, it's going to impact the amount of sperm that his mind is releasing, because we're releasing thousands of thoughts all day long.
Mm.
So when you don't have that valve fully open, a man's ability to actually grasp all of these thoughts and ideas in order to make and see his full highest identity. So what happens is there is a low self-esteem imprint where he cannot move for things because of that insecurity, the fear of the future. He can't go from point A to point B. He can't ground in ideas, feel in his emotion, because it's through the emotion that he can actually cultivate the reality of the manifestation. So when you have a man who is frustrated because, one, he's not really seeing and understanding his highest self identity. So
Hmm.
he's disconnected from his truth, disconnected from his purpose, disconnected from his voice and his capability of articulating himself in a way of a man.
Mm.
And not being able to go from point A to point B is extremely deflating. Aborting mission, having this intention, and all of a sudden you jump ship. What is that frustration? How is he going to take that on? How is the self-hate going to start to attack and go back and forth? When I was talking about how these trauma archetypes create these voices that literally go after us, they're degrading. Trauma is very degrading in the sense in how it lives in our mind and lives in our thoughts.
Mm.
So I will go about speaking to them about these things. Like, do you notice this? Are you going from point A to point B? Are you frustrated? What are your goals? And then there's a whole nother area that I'll go in as well. So if we're speaking from this metaphysical lens, okay, we have the mind that has gone through this male genital organ that has also gone through a circumcision. We also want to consider the heart, which completes immaculate conception. But there's this really fascinating sense to the heart. The heart, yes, is female in essence, right? But what does the heart do? The heart ejaculates emotion.
Mm.
It
Mm.
omits and releases frequency,
Mm.
feelings, vibration to feel and to draw the things that they want. So on a metaphysical level, the heart is a male genital organ because it ejaculates feelings, emotions, and energy. So what ends up happening is because the heart energy chakra cannot fully produce an amount of self-acceptance, an amount of full love, and to be able to turn that energy back in towards himself. He's looking in the mirror. Why am I judging myself? Why can't I accept myself? Why can't I draw and speak to a woman? Why can't I be vulnerable? Why is it difficult for me? Why am I running away and avoiding the depth, feeling like I'm going to drown? I don't accept myself for who I am. And no matter how many workshops, how many seminars, how many books, how many things I do, I feel this open. I feel this glance or this beautiful space. Maybe I can get through this. Maybe this is it. Then all of a sudden, it goes back in because it's locked into his metaphysical
Mm,
system, which is wired into his neurology. Is it's a neural network
mm.
essentially. And then we have the castration of the pineal gland. And so, what does the pineal gland do? Why would it be a male genital organ? I'm going to have you answer that question for me.
Well, I know that it releases milky white substance.
Yeah, I'm Rita.
Yeah.
But it releases and ejaculates. But what is it releasing and ejaculating? The real world of the psychic realm. It is ejaculating psychic visions, revelation, inspiration, intuition. That is the language of the higher self. That is how we connect. When we are in the matrix and sitting in it, almost like when you're in a painting, you don't know where one point is to the other. But when you can come out and see it, okay, now you know. But when you're in it, what do we have to rely on in life? We have to rely on those intuitive factors into that inspiration where we're waved into going into a direction of what we want or an idea of how that's going to come forward. So the direct link into the portal of his divine masculinity has also gone through a metaphysical circumcision. So these are the spaces that I will penetrate
Mm,
to ask and grasp so he can actually be like, I feel like you were literally, Jenna, just in my mind.
mm. Two things that really changed my understanding of this because, I speak from that place as that man of like, oh, how has this impacted my life? And two of the things that really like tw twisted things for me was like understanding that the glands, the head of my penis is not supposed to be rubbing on anything. It's supposed to
Exactly.
be fully protected, and
Exactly.
how that just like a callus on the hand over time can form a callus there, which is even less sensation. And
Yeah.
once again, I can feel into how, okay, yeah, I understand how that would make me need more of that experience to feel the same amount that I would if I was intact.
Yes.
And similarly, we can just, if we just talk about it through nerve endings, which there's so much more to talk about that's there, but just through nerve endings, it's like in the same way, if I'm eating food from soil that has a bunch of a much less nutrients in it, I might eat a whole hamburger with, all these veggies, but I might still be hungry because it's not full of those nutrients. In the same way, if I go into a
Right.
sexual experience, I don't have all those nerve endings and I'm not intact, I'm not going to be satiated. I'm not going to be full. I'm not going to feel the depth of what I could be feeling if I was intact. And those two things really blew my mind as far as I can really understand how that's had an impact on me across my whole entire life, from a teenage boy innocently exploring into, all the different phases of my life where I've explored self-pleasure and pleasure with others.
Yeah, such a beautiful connection that you made and how clear that was. The keratinization
Yes.
of the glands is a very unfortunate byproduct. For anyone who doesn't know what keratin is, it's just the your fingernail. So that's the type of material that is essentially forming to protect the glands because the protective shield is now missing and it's rubbing, like you said, on zippers, on denim, on sheets, on boxers or swim trunks, whatever. And I've had men reach out and say, imagine having sex with a kitchen glove.
Mm,
And That's why sex with a cut man is it's more intense. There has to be more intensity coming in and out of the vagina, including more friction. And so what
Yeah.
that actually does, unfortunately, is because of the mushroom cap of the coronal ridge of the glands of the head will pull every time it comes out of vagina, it will actually pull
Wow.
lubrication out of her. And so
Whoa.
the foreskin also offers lubrication,
Yeah.
excitation, glands within it as well. So he's also adding on to the sexual lubrication of flow, of intercourse. So now that's been completely removed from his side. And now she has all of the weight to produce, including all of her own trauma that's already preventing her from actually lubricating to begin with. So now we have these two people who are operating under their own conditioning, the own things that have happened. And when they're having sex, it's a lot more abrupt, it's a lot more intense. The guy has to really focus deeply, and to the point that like it can become this hunger. You're like, I don't understand, like I can't feel this void, like I'm not getting to this potential, and then there's this not enough, and then there's just this deflation.
Now, we've obviously opened a huge can of worms here that we could sit here and talk about till you and
I can
I
all day every day.
could talk about it forever.
Yeah.
We want to give these listeners a snapshot, an opening, and open the door and have them walk through. What's the thing that you recommend men that are just opening up to this idea, whether it be they explore or they learn or discover for themselves, what do you recommend men start doing once they are actually available to this information and seeing how it might be impacting them?
Yeah. Well, we have two different types of experiences that can be expressed. Sometimes there's this a lot of anger and a lot of rage of actually really sitting down with this. It is really intense to know that something like this happened to you, and to digest that. Anger can come up and rage. It's a normal part of the process, but my invitation is to not stay there for too long whatsoever. There, when we stay in that victim, and there is time for victim, there is nourishment there is reflection there, and how you can actually start to formulate ways that you can heal. And usually choosing to drop the victim is when we can actually grab the baton of the warrior's journey and move into the realm of healing, into tapping more into wholeness and tapping more into divine masculinity and what that looks like. So there's this big radical responsibility that has to unfold in time, but to not linger into that space, and to do it to the point where it just paralyzes you, because a lot of men are extremely paralyzed. And I tell a lot of people, whether they want to heal, they want to do this, is to understand readiness is the barometer for self-love. And we can wait until life happens to us and kind of see and roll with the punches, or we can actually grab the torch and say, you know what, I'm ready now. Like, I know that, sure, there is this physical cut, but I want to experience a richer life in expression of my leadership, in cultivating deep romantic relationships, and having more beautiful friendships and opportunities to serve the world. And I know that these are the things that are happening in my mind, in my heart, and in my body, and I am ready to take the leap. We also have foreskin restoration. Foreskin restoration is also available, and really understanding how the body can produce more skin. Some men, it can take, well, for full coverage, it can take, I've heard people say 3 years, I've heard people say 5 years, I've heard people say 10 years. It doesn't matter. And so a lot of men are really going into the foreskin restoration route, which I celebrate with full capacity, full throttle. I celebrate that. The caveat is, if there is already this me against my cock energy, right? What a lot of men already currently have when
Yeah.
it comes to masturbation, when it comes to how they treat their body to begin with. If there is that rage, if there is that upset, if there is betrayal, if there is heartache that is backing the physical healing of foreskin restoration, let's just talk about restoration. That energy that is ejaculating into the word restoration is already going to distort it. So in
Mm.
with does that make sense? So
Mm-hmm.
within
Mm.
the true healing of the psyche, of our neurology, of our heart on a metaphysical level, and to really come into a place where you become the master of your life, how life works, how it operates, and how you can literally be a king and create your kingdom.
Mm.
For me, I always start with the spiritual and we move it in through the psychology. From psychology, we do the emotional, and then from the emotional, we'll penetrate the body. So
Mm.
I like to actually say that let's
Mm.
do foreskin restoration after you've moved through the
Mm.
program and done a lot of those healings so you're not attacking your dick.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I mean, that's such a deep one, and one that I see more and more clearly is the way that we as men have such an interesting relationship with that part of our body. And yeah, it's either just simply going there to take from it and then feeling shame about it, but it's just like there are some weird things going on in that relationship.
Big time.
I'm gonna post your stuff in the description. Is there anything that you want to share with the men of like what a path looks like in working with you if they want to explore a journey like this?
Yeah, thanks for that opportunity. It's just super easy. I'll give you my website and you just fill out, you just give me your name and your email, and I will contact you and you'll just answer some questions and I'm going to give you a deep throw understanding of like where you're at. I have the ability to penetrate through words and to really see and sit with the man where he is at, and I take them on a journey of body reconciliation, of deep I do inception, which is really going deep into the subconscious mind. And we're going to rewrite stories, create new imprints, talk about trauma. What is trauma? Because when everyone's talking about healing trauma, we're healing trauma. But like, what does fucking healing trauma mean? What is trauma? And can you tell me practically? And what is healing? And can you tell me practically? 99.9% of the people can't do it. So why are we not healing? It's because we can't practically apply these tools, see the object for what it is, be bigger than it, and be like, oh wow, okay, well clearly I'm bigger than it. Clearly I deep beyond this. I am God. I am a divine masculine. I am a soul living in the physical form. I can change this.
Mm,
And so it's so empowering to look at it and to understand it to the point that you know exactly how to tackle it. And it is through these tools, these allowances for even some of my men are actually developing psychic abilities as they're moving through it. I'm helping them go deeper into their dreams.
mm,
They're attracting more women in their life. I can give courses on what intimacy is and how to call in the like your soulmate, and it is so much fun. I offer a really beautiful, nurturing, fun space. Like
mm.
I'm a weirdo and we laugh and we have the best time, like really grabbing the bull by the horns and saying, I am the authority now and I take ownership of my life and I am ready to actually embark on the most powerful journey that I can go on. And because when I redeem myself, when I am delivered from something, it's almost like it becomes natural to deliver others from it so that
Mm,
other people don't heal the way that we heal.
mm. And I'll say to the listeners, even just following Jenna, which I'll put her social media in the description as well, even just following Jenna is going to allow this information to be more in your face. And that's something I highly recommend is listen to podcasts on it, like see the things, think about it, stir with it, and see what arises for you. Because I've been on my own journey and it's been years that it's taken me to have the information and actually walk across the thresholds to learn more and face what's happening inside of myself. So whether you just follow Jenna, go on that deep journey with her, take a step in that direction is definitely what I encourage you. Thank you, Jenna, for your commitment to this and for men. And I look forward to learning more from you and continuing my journey to share with my movement as well. So I appreciate
It's
you.
amazing. I appreciate you. Thank you so much, Mr. Wood.
Yes, everybody, like Jenna said, listen to some music, shake your body, make some sounds, like
Ground. Yeah.
ground, whatever it is that you're feeling. And if you want to reach out to myself or Jenna directly to have any conversations, we're here for that. So take care of
Yep.
yourself.
Thank you.